Moving on now to the next item, consider authorizing a sole source contract with non-destructive testing group to perform testing on existing mast arms within Wayne County right-of-way and approve the required budget amendment.
I move to award a sole source contract to NDT for testing of 102 mast arms in Canton Township for $27,799 plus a 10% contingency of $2,779 for a total amount of $30,578. And I further authorize the clerk to sign the agreement with NDT and also approve the budget amendment to the road construction fund with increased revenues and an appropriation from the fund balance and an increased expenditure for professional and contractual services.
Support.
Canton Township has sponsored and participated in road projects and intersection improvements over the years that have included installation of 102 of the green mast arms that hold traffic signals. Historically, there's been at least one intersection where a mast arm has failed, and in January 2008, a mast arm at the northwest quadrant at Beck and Geddes fell onto Geddes Road after the mast arm connection at the pole failed badly. The mast arms have been used at intersections in Canton and are considered Type 3 mast arm based on a classification by MDOT. For this type of structure, the MDOT policy is to inspect these mast arms every other year. Canton Township has previously discussed this with the then Township Attorney, who at the time recommended we follow MDOT policy of biannual inspections of the mast arms. It is our understanding that the Non-Destructive Testing Services Group is the only MDOT qualified firm who can provide these unique inspection services, and they have provided these services to Canton in the past. We request to retain NDT to provide testing and inspection services of the existing mast arms to the amount of $27,799 plus a contingency. Please note that the cost for testing of the mast arms within the Downtown Development Authority has been excluded from this work. Bill, any additional comments on this at all?
No, unless you have.
Pretty straightforward. I mean, we have to get them inspected, and we're required to do it. And
yes.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering if the vendor has any responsibility or any obligation to, I mean, this one that fell over on Geddes Road seemed to me to be a structural problem with the manufacturer.
The original mast arm that fell on Geddes, they determined after the fact that it was a slightly different construction from most of the mast arms that we used. I'm not certain of their liability, however. Once we've done the inspections, it will protect us at least to say that we are still evaluating these on a periodic basis.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Greg?
Yeah, why are we excluding the mast arms and the DDA?
The DDA mast arms along Ford Road also need these inspections. I inquired with the Michigan DOT, and they're going to actually do those inspections themselves and bill the DDA. I offered that we roll them in with all of the others, but they do them themselves.
That's because Ford Road is a Michigan state highway.
It's a state highway.
Right.
Bill?
Pat?
I'm just surprised that there's only one non-destructive testing organization approved by the state. There's literally dozens in the region for automotive, aerospace, every other field. The fact that the state only approves one makes no sense to me. Number two, the bid came in for 130 mast arms, which probably originally included DDA.
Yes.
Did we cut the numbers down to reflect the...
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we eliminated that.
Good, thank you.
Any comments on the number of, any thoughts on that, and the number of companies that can do it?
That's correct. In fact, earlier today I was looking up some of the other firms. There certainly are a lot that do that type of testing. These guys typically do it for MDOT. It's somewhat specialized, and they actually rent a bucket truck and they get up and they look at them. So we also felt it would be good to be consistent with the same people that did it did it the last time we did it, which was, I believe, 3 years ago.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the model resolution, say aye.
Aye.
All against, same sign. The ayes have it. Next item, consider authorizing a sole source contract for engineering design and construction management for the Denton Road water main project to Stantec Consulting.
I move to award a contract for consulting services for the Denton Road water main project and to direct finance to create a purchase order in the amount of $10,000 plus a 10% contingency for Stantec. I further move to authorize the clerk to sign the agreement.
Support.
In 2011, Canton Township began the design of permitting for a 1-mile water main on Denton Road between Geddes and Mott Road. Based on our water model, this project, one of the highest priority loops within the township, and the design was completed in-house. Canton has retained an engineering firm, Stantec Consulting, to provide full design and construction management for a second water main project near Yost Road in Sheldon, and they are close to completing the design for the Yost Road project. Canton Engineering Services may bid both of these projects together as they are similar in design and materials. Due to staffing limitations and in the interest of consistency between these two projects, we have solicited a cost proposal from Stantec to prepare the bidding documents and provide bidding and construction assistance on the Denton Road project. Although this proposal includes bidding assistance, which is tasks 1 and 2, construction amendment administration services, which is task 3, and field services, which is task 4, at this time we're asking to retain Stantec to complete only the first 3 tasks for a total of $10,000. Bill? Any comments, any questions on this?
No.
Any additional information? Any board comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the model resolution, say aye.
Aye.
All against, same sign. The ayes have it. Moving on now to item G6, approve the purchase and budget amendment for Summit on the Park Banquet Smallwares.
Just a minute. I move to the purchase of replacement smallwares for the banquet operation at the Summit from National Food and Equipment Supplies at Farm Lane on Walled Lake, Michigan, in the total amount of $7,885.22, with a reimbursement from Continental Services for their portion in the amount of $3,404.64 for a net expense of $448.58. And I further move to approve the budget amendment with a fund balance appropriation of $969 and an increase in expenses and operating supplies of the same amount.
Second.
The Summit on the Park was host to 1,410 banquet events in 2011, with banquet operations handled by Continental Services. And per the contract, Canton is responsible for providing smallwares, including china and silverware, and the Continental is responsible for maintaining that inventory. Current pattern of china has been discontinued, which necessitates complete replacement of the china. Canton purchased china and flatware from National Food Equipment and Supplies and invoiced Continental for their portion of the purchase. The original purchase did not require board approval. Upon receipt of the order, we realized there was a discrepancy in the quantity received, and after further investigation, it was determined that the vendor miscommunicated the unit price. In order to avoid further expenses that would be necessary to rent china to cover the shortage, the remaining items were ordered after consultation with the finance director and the township supervisor. Vendor, National Food Equipment and Supplies reduced their prices by 32% on the additional items in consideration of their error. National Food Equipment and Supplies remains the lowest quote for the total order. The original order was $4,885.22. The additional order cost $3,000, making the total expense to replace the china and flatwares $7,885.22, resulting in the need for a budget adjustment in the amount of $969. Continental will reimburse Canton Township $3,404.64 for their portion. Director Huntsowitz?
According to the food service contract, it's our obligation to provide the smallwares, and in this particular case, china, glassware, and flatware, and then it's up to the vendor, Continental, to maintain that inventory. When they went to replace that, fulfill their portion of the contract, we found that the china was discontinued, and that china was original to the opening of the summit in 1996. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions.
Any questions?
I just have one. In the background information, you noted that in 2011, the summit hosted 1,410 events in that year's period of time. It's not a fair question, but off the top of your head, is that par? Is that a little more, a little less? How are we doing?
We're actually doing better. 2011, we saw an upswing in banquet events. Certainly, the banquet service was definitely impacted by the downturn in the economy. We certainly saw that with corporate events. Those came to basically a standstill. But we're starting to see some of that activity resume, and Continental has a really great salesperson in that office who provides really great details and service for social activities and events. And we're seeing her sales ability really help pay off. We're seeing an upswing in those kinds of activities.
Good, because I mean, that's, if you figure 360 operating days, that's 4 events a day.
Right.
Pretty good.
Right, of varying sizes.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions by the board? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the purchase and budget adjustment for Summit on the Park smallware, say aye.
Aye.
All against, same sign. The ayes have it. Moving on now to item G7, which is municipal credit agreement with Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation, referred to as SMART.
I move to approve the 212-213 municipal credit contract between SMART and the Charter Township of Canton for $88,692, and to authorize the Township Supervisor to sign the contract on behalf of the Township.
Second.
Township submitted the annual municipal credit program funding application to SMART to provide transportation services to senior citizens and disabled residents. SMART has notified Township it's eligible for $88,692 under the program for the months of July 2012 through June 2013. These funds are in addition to the $31,942 Specialized Service Grant, which runs from October 2011 through September 2012. Projected farebox revenue collected from program riders for fiscal year 2012 is $31,889. The total annual contract with Huron Valley Ambulance, HVA, to provide transportation service is $424,814. The 2 grants and farebox revenue noted above offset the HVA contract amount. The balance of the contract amount, which is $272,291, will be covered through the Township's general fund. Opt-in communities, in Canton is not, levy 0.59 mills for SMART. For the 2012 projected millage rate, Canton would pay approximately $2 million, not quite, but almost $2 million for SMART services. By opting out, Canton saves, and actually the number I think we've got at 1.3, but actually about $1.6 million by opting out, right, and still providing excellent service to our seniors pretty much wherever they want to go, take care of some of their medical needs and wherever they're going. Director Huntsowitz?
The only thing I would add is that ridership has been on a steady increase each year, and 2012 is certainly on track to exceed the 2011 numbers. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Just that I sit on that transportation committee, and the senior citizens couldn't be more pleased with the service that's provided. It's It's flexible, it's functional, it works, it's very inexpensive, and we saved $1.6 million. It's a win-win all the way around for Canton.
My mother has just recently started using the service because she had to give up her car. She'll be 93 on Friday. And she's not happy about giving up her car. So I convinced her to try this, to go to the grocery store and get her hair done, things like that. And she was very suspicious. She's been driving since she was 13. And she's doing just fine with it. She's a little frustrated they won't come and pick her up for church. So we need to maybe get a Sunday service. But all in all, it's worked out really well. And and I think it's important to mention that, this $1.6 million isn't money that's saved in Canton's budget. It's money that's saved in the taxpayers' budgets, because this is money that is not collected from them. This is money that they, exactly. And so I think that, that was a great thing that we were able to opt out of that when the vote occurred back in the middle 1990s, and it's to save the communities that have a lot of money. So it's a great thing.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the municipal credit agreement with SMART, say aye.
Aye.
All against, same sign. The ayes have it. That concludes the general calendar for this evening. Both the clerk and the treasurer had reminded me of a couple items that I want to kind of mention. First of all, the DIA is Detroit Institute of Arts is having a Canton Day next Sunday, right? July 15th, and so if a Canton resident had 3 extra people with them, they can all get in free of charge, correct?
Correct. They just need to show their ID that shows their Canton residency.
So people might want to take advantage of, haven't been there for a while or never been there, certainly want to take advantage of that. And then the other thing is we talk a lot, Terry mentioned to me about we talk a lot about our ice dancers that we have that are in the Winter Olympics, of course, but now we're all excited about Allison Schmidt from Canton, who's going to be in our swimmer, who is going to be in competition at the Olympics. So we're excited to watch her, and we all, certainly support her. So that's terrific. Canton's well represented in the Olympic Games. So. That's great. Any other comment on that? No? Any other board comments?
I do.
Sure.
I just received by email, and I'll read this because it's important for Canton residents to know that if you're home, and you probably will see this late, but I'll give you some dates to target for, is that today the governor called for a special election to fill the vacancy left by Representative Congressman Thaddeus McCotter. So there will be a special primary election on September 5th to nominate a candidate that will go to the ballot on November 6th to fill the remaining term of Mr. McCotter's seat, and that will be till the end of this year. If you are interested, vacancies will be filled in accordance with the following state election schedule. Today was the call for election. July 20th is the last date for a Democrat and Republican Party candidate to finish nominating petitions with the State of Michigan Bureau of Elections. July 23rd is the withdrawal deadline for Democrats and Republicans. August 7th is the last date for candidates without party affiliation to file qualifying petitions. August 7th is the last date for minor parties to hold caucuses to nominate candidates to that special election. August 10th being the last withdrawal date, and of course the special primary election being held September 5th, with it being consistent with our already scheduled statewide federal election on November 6th. So we hope that information is pertinent to those people looking to fill that vacancy.
How many signatures do we need?
1,000.
Yeah.
1,000 valid signatures. So you have
You
to
know
do
it very
two-
well.
You have to do 2,000 at
And it
least.
actually cites the federal and state law that requires us to do this.
Trustee Williams.
Yeah, this is absolutely a bonehead direction by our governor. We were all discussing it earlier. It's a terrible waste of taxpayers' money, and I would like to know if there's any way or angle in a million years that we could take this, I see it as an unfunded mandate, and say, no, we're not going to do it in Canton. Any legal way we can do that at all? I know our clerk's opinion, but was there not a ruling that, the Michigan Supreme Court said if it's unfunded, guys, you don't have to do it, locals?
Yeah, but this may not be coming from the state. This may be coming from the federal. Well, I guess it was Governor Snyder that ordered the special election. I would have to look into that specifically. We've got federal law that's coming into play here.
Without spending a whole ton of time and money, I don't know if there's a way we could
Actually,
ask the right
this
people
I will
questions.
forward this call to election because it states the law sightings in it. So I'll
Okay.
get it to you
That
to
would be
review.
helpful.
Okay.
And the other question, maybe Terry knows this, but because it is an election that was called by the state, now it's apples and oranges, or basically it's apples and apples because it's all taxpayer money, but would the state reimburse then the 11th district communities for the election? So
They will not. And just to confirm what Trustee Tosh said, for a partisan running for this, you must collect a minimum of 1,000, maximum of 2,000 valid signatures. Candidates without party affiliation, it's a minimum 3,000 and a maximum 6,000.
Do we know if the governor had the opportunity to appoint someone who would, say, be a non-candidate type person? Let's say,
You.
yeah,
No.
You.
yeah. Just to be able to fill the spot with a human being until the time that the elections were held?
I don't think the governor has that authority. He
Okay.
can only do for a Senate seat. A
Okay.
senator he can appoint.
So the House is actually
House, he
the
has to have
House
an
of the
election.
people.
Right. Yeah, I think he had
Five weeks this guy's going to work?
He won't know where the bathroom is,
It's insane.
or her.
No, he will vote in the lame duck section. That's all
Yeah.
they are interested,
Yeah,
which is a waste of public money, out of tune of what, $600,000?
it's just insane.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a waste
It's
of money.
devastating. It really is just devastating.
ridiculous. But any other board comments?
Well, I think the only thing we can tell you is that Terry's going to need all the help and support she can get to get through the time period between the August primary and the November general. So
And a
I-
September new primary.
that's what I mean, yeah, that time period is going to be just hellacious for her and her department. And so man the decks if you have to help, because it's going to be needed.
It may be important that we try and get a public service announcement out on our cable, because people are going to be very confused.
We can do
Um,
that.
How about
So we'll try and do that.
one precinct? Create one precinct. If you live in Canton, you want to vote in this stupid election, we're going to have one open precinct in Canton to save money.
Yeah, I've worked on special elections before when we did
Oh.
this for a Wayne County Commission thing, and literally could have done exactly that, because I think there were 3 people at the election that day. People are,
Unfortunately, the law doesn't
you
allow
know.
us to do that either.
No.
Unfortunately, the law doesn't allow us to do that, because if we are going to man a precinct, there is a state maximum requirement for registered voters who are seated in that precinct, which is why we have 42 instead of 12.
Can you do
12.
an absentee ballot?
Absolutely, absolutely.
No time to send them.
I got lots of ideas, not good ones, just lots of ideas.
I think the other
When's
thing is
the
also,
deadline for,
Terry may have to buy the new voting machines too, because she
7:20.
cannot
Yeah.
use the old ones.
some people will be able to.
She has to keep them
They're
locked.
going to have to, hire somebody.
Any other comment? Any other board comment? Seeing none, seeing no further business before the board this evening, a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved?
So moved.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All against, same sign. We're adjourned.
I'm going to stop off at the house and drop some literature off.